Well, they are a cancer. We have said this over and over again. And now they're also inept. It's one thing to be toxic. It's another to be inept at the same time. Then their eagerness, James, to push through their small L liberal, moderate, bedwetters, whatever you want to call them, they've now stuffed up the whole thing.
They've stuffed up the whole thing. This has huge consequences here. Everybody needs to know about this, and maybe people in other parts of the country haven't followed it. New South Wales is having big local government elections, council elections, in a few weeks' time. There was a deadline last week to get all the candidates for the election registered and on the ballot. And in over a dozen really important councils in areas the Libs need to win back at the next election. And I'm talking about in areas around where like Teal seats are on the northern beaches, places like the seat of McKellar and things like that. They're not going to have any candidates on the ballot because, and here's the key thing, the story goes that they spent so much time screwing around and not doing the paperwork that at the last minute, they couldn't get all the paperwork in. Now, already Richard Shields, who's the New South Wales Liberal Party president, he's fallen on his sword. He's been blown out. But there's another character in all of this.
Who might that be?
That would be Don Harwin, the great sort of moderate power broker. And the moderates, we all know who the moderates are in New South Wales. And he is actually apparently going to hang on to his job somehow.
How?
Why? Why, Libs? Why?
Because of politics. Because of the politics and the dysfunctional New South Wales division of the Liberal Party. So this whole rot, this is very similar, you remember in 2022 at the last election when, again, they weren't able to get the right candidates in because Scott Morrison and Alex Hawke and people like that were playing games with the pre-selection. And, that caused all sorts of disaster running into that election. And now, again, the same sorts of games are seeing the New South Wales Liberals lose their spots too. There were mayoralties that they could have taken over, but then destroying the organizational ability on the ground in these key seats that they're going to need to win at the next election.
So Rita, just quickly, Rita,
poisoned everything.
Yeah, so my sources tell me that the Liberal Council candidate nomination was a fiasco because it was the result of this strategy, which is often used, it's an underhanded strategy by the New South Wales Liberal State Executive Council. And what they try and do, and what James and Rita have referred to, is they delay the nomination process. They keep delaying it. This is what my sources are telling me, until the last minute so that they can then place their own left-wing bedwetting, as Rita said, candidate under the urgency provision of Section 21.6.3 of their Constitution. Lefties playing games, Rita.
And playing it very poorly because I can tell you one thing, Labor and even the shambolic Greens would never make this sort of error. They understand how important local government is. They understand how important power is. And this is something that it would be incredible if Harwin holds on to his role. He just can't.
But he has to go. He only got in by one vote, didn't he? He only got in by one vote.
No, he has to go.
He's the absolute epitome of that whole left-wing style of politics that has destroyed the Liberal Party state after state after state. There is only the Liberal Party federally with Peter Dutton as the leader that is standing up for conservative principles and doing a fantastic job. We're going to talk about Gaza visas in a minute. But you've got to get rid of this character. Get rid of this guy.
There's a thing here that you need to understand, particularly the New South Wales Party. This moderate wing would rather fight conservatives within the Liberal Party than they would fight the opposition. And then here's what happens then. And we saw this happen in the last state election in New South Wales. Chris Minns, who has been, I have to say, a very competent Labor premier in New South Wales, he came in and is still pushing through a raft of common sense measures that people like. And people feel like, unlike the moderate side of the Liberal Party, which is actually actively hostile to normal people and what they want and need, this is the space that the Liberals need to be occupying. And they have ceded it. They've ceded in New South Wales to Labor.
And what they've done, this is the same mob of people, for those outside New South Wales, that gave us Matt Keane. So Matt Keane then became treasurer, built all these windmills and stuff all around New South Wales, and then went and joined the Labor Party, got a job with the Labor Party as soon as this mob have got to be, changed within the New South Wales Liberal Party so we get genuine Conservatives in New South Wales. It has to happen.
And it's not just New South Wales. This same losing philosophy, this same anti-conservative sentiment where they're more interested in killing any genuine Conservatives within the Liberal Party than they are actually defeating Labor. It exists in Victoria. That's why Victoria is an absolute basket case.
Yep.
Because the electorate has no choice. And the Liberals are just, there's no meritocracy there, there's no accountability there. And if there's to be any accountability, this character has to go. He cannot stick around.
Absolutely. Get rid of him, put someone in decent, and, let's get the Libs functioning properly as a Conservative party in New South Wales.